Hi everyone, Libertarian Minority here, and today we're going to be talking about the S word. And I'm not talking about We're going to be talking about socialism. And one of socialism's biggest boasters is, of course, Bernie Sanders. We're going to be going through a list of ridiculous tweets, I think. So let's just go ahead and get started. This first one reads, "Women in this country will control their own bodies, not the United States government." Alright, so let's dissect that a little bit, okay? So the insinuation here is that, the government does not own a person's body. Okay? So let's assume we're going to take the pro-choice argument here. I'm not pro-choice, but let's just use it for the sake of discussion. He's using the case that the government can't own someone's body, okay? Or the results thereof of someone's body. All right, with that logic, he's so much for a welfare state. He's so much for confiscating your income, your own wealth. It doesn't make sense to take this position, because if you're going to say the government does not own my body, the fruits of my labor, which is, a result of the effects of my body, then how can you make this argument? It doesn't make sense. This one has gotten a lot of heat recently, and rightfully so. Let's go through this. How many yachts do billionaires need? How many cars do they need? Give us a break. You can't have it all. Okay, okay, this one can get a little infuriating. This one is pretty dang ridiculous if you ask me. Bernie Sanders is in the top 4% of the United States. Forget the rest of the world, because if you live in the United States, you're probably in the 1% of the rest of the world. I'm sorry, you probably didn't understand my accent. The 1% of the world. And he's in the top 4% of the United States, and he's giving Donald Trump a lot of flack. And, I'm not a fan of Donald Trump, trust me. But he's giving Donald Trump a lot of flack for not paying taxes. And Bernie Sanders paid a lower tax rate than Donald Trump did. It just, in 2005 anyway. It doesn't make any sense. That's what we call a hypocrite. This next tweet from April 19th reads, "In the richest country in the history of the world, our people should not be living in such despair and hopelessness." What despair and hopelessness are you talking about? Do you mean the one that's created by the welfare state incentivizing single moms? Are you talking, the richest country in the world that had the smallest welfare state and the most limited government, and that's why immigrants came here? That's why my parents came here. That's why I came here as a legal immigrant. I don't understand why he wants to expand the biggest monopoly known to man, which is government. It's only going to get in the way of businesses, which, more often than not, immigrants want to create. I don't think Bernie Sanders understands economics, even on a basic level. He makes a lot of moral arguments, which is why I think a lot of younger people like the way he speaks, but it has to make cohesive sense, and I don't think Bernie Sanders makes a lot of cohesive sense at all. Let's read this next one from April 18th. "You don't stand with workers when you propose massive tax cuts for the rich and take healthcare away from millions of Americans." So this one's twofold. Let's start with the first one. You don't stand with workers when you propose massive tax cuts for the rich. Well, why not just cut taxes for everyone then? You're equalizing the playing field by definition. I don't understand why you need to tax someone if they're rich, poor, or middle class. Why not just treat them all equally? Why not a 15% flat tax? That seems pretty reasonable. Everyone's treated equally. The rich pay more, the poor pay less. It's proportional. I don't understand why cutting taxes for a specific bracket of income makes it more or less moral. I mean, to be honest, most of the time, the people that are rich are going to be creating more businesses when you cut their taxes anyway. So, and the problem with poverty is people don't have money, so why not just cut taxes across the board? Sounds like everyone would be happy with that solution. So let's take number 2, and take healthcare away from millions of Americans. Well, what if I don't want healthcare? I don't want healthcare. I'm a pretty healthy person. I don't want healthcare till maybe I'm 30 or 40 years old when I'm older. I've not gone to the doctor in about 15 years. Out of necessity, nothing. I've never been to the doctor in about 15 years. You're basically, Bernie Sanders, with his big government healthcare, he wants to take away my money, and not just my money, everyone's money, to provide less quality healthcare for everyone. It's a monopoly, and insurance companies love it. He's talking about big pharma and big insurance companies and the 1% and yada, yada, yada. They love this. It's a monopoly. You're forced to buy healthcare, and that's why premiums go up. That's why people lose coverage. It's a commodity. No one has a right to healthcare. That's not in the Constitution. That's nowhere to be found. It's a moral argument. I don't understand how people with half a brain like this guy. This one's pretty good. "I want to talk about a radical concept. It's called democracy. It's about government of the people, by the people, for the people." Okay, there's just one thing wrong with his argument there. Let's rephrase it. Ready? "I want to talk about a radical concept. It's called democracy. It's about government of the majority, by the majority, for the majority." That's what democracy is. Okay? You want to protect minorities, you want to protect the individual rights, you form a constitutional republic. You don't form a democracy, okay? Because if 51% of people vote to take away the other 49%'s income, that's democracy. You voted for it. It's for the majority. That's exactly what democracy is. You don't need democracy. Democracy doesn't ensure individual rights that are God-given. Okay, a constitutional republic does. You need to protect the rights of the minority. And the smallest minority there is the individual. It's not brown people. It's not black people. It's not Asian people. It's the individual. That's the smallest minority. Now this one, we're going to finish it off strong. I actually agree with Bernie, surprisingly. Our military budget is larger than the next 12 nations combined. We do not need to spend more. We need to take care of our people. And this is actually where I agree. And the methodology of which we will take care of people is totally different. We need to shrink the size of government. That's how you take care of people. People take care of themselves, okay? Families, churches, charities, friends, those people take care of you. The government can give two about who you are, anything, okay? And this is where I kind of agree because, we have a huge military budget. I totally agree. We need to have a strong defense, okay? There's no question about that. We need to be prepared if someone is ready to wage war against us. But the way he considers taking care of people is through government force, socialism, a gun to your head. This is a big concept that a lot of people don't understand. What is government at the end of the day? Does government give you rights? No. Does government provide food? No. What is government? It's a big shooting people machine. It's a gun. It's literally force. That's all government is. It's a monopoly on force. It's the biggest monopoly on force ever. Because if you don't do something, you go to jail or you get killed. Simple as that. Simple as that. Literally. I don't want to pay my taxes. I go to jail. I kill a man. Depending on some states, I might get killed or I go to jail also. If I put someone in danger, I can go to jail. Drunk driving, I can go to jail. Very easily. So what is government? It's force. And you need to limit that force to things that are only necessary. Which is if someone, fraud, killing, stealing, raping, totally justifiable things to use force. The monopoly of force. But to take away someone's income, someone's labor, to take away someone's rights, for even if it's for if what he considers to be the better for the whole, which is not true, that's exactly what it is. So you need to limit the use of force to only the very, very, very necessary things. So leapfrogging off of that, we're going to be talking about socialism. And we're not going to be talking about socialism in the Nordic countries, which, by the way, we pay most of the defense budgets. We're going to be talking about socialism in Latin American countries. First of which, obviously, is going to be Venezuela. We could be talking about Venezuela's awful use of force or awful GDP and how they took away GM, which is probably a bad sign for any other company that wants to be there. We're going to be talking about this specific issue, which is exactly what socialism leads to, which is government corruption. Venezuelan president to arm militia supporters after confiscating civilian guns. Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro declared in a speech to loyalists of his regime that he would arm thousands of his supporters as massive protests and riots occur across the country. So let's talk about this real quick, okay? Government is playing favorites. That is not okay, okay? One thing you need to understand is government is made up of people. The government isn't some huge entity. The government isn't God. The government isn't some deity. Government is just people. And when they have more power, more corruption. We could talk about things that happened in Mexico as well with their huge drug cartels, or in any Latin American country for that matter, how much socialism destroys it, including Brazil too. So what I don't understand is why people like Bernie Sanders want to lead us to something like this. Social democracy? I don't get it. A gun for every militiaman that the Venezuelan government chooses? What if you're against the government? What if you criticize the government? Your gun's taken away. The government can use force against you. What makes that okay? And President Maduro makes this announcement after he wants to take away the guns of citizens. Like, doesn't that ring a bell? Doesn't that just, I don't know, certain things pop up in your head when you think of someone confiscating everyone's guns to become corrupt? And sadly, Venezuela isn't the only Latin American country with loads of government corruption. My home country, Mexico, same situation, just different circumstances. Riots, looting, Mexico spiral out of control over 20% gas hike. Pemex, which is the Mexican gas company, which is owned by the Mexican government. Let's talk about this a little bit, okay? Because an important thing to note is, though I'm very proud of being from Mexico, I'm very proud of my culture. We need to come to the realization that economically, Mexico sucks. Okay, there's no doubt about it. Economically, compared to the rest of the world, Mexico's awful. Okay, there's nothing incorrect about saying that. Period. Okay, government owns the means of production in gas. Okay, that's that, and over a 20% gas hike because of all the entitlements Mexico promises to spend, which is basically just a big old welfare state. Rioting and looting happens. People get violent. People start getting into this revolutionary attitude. And though I'm not a big proponent of violent revolution, government asks for it when they start controlling too much and they start becoming corrupt, in which case Mexico's been corrupt for a very long time. A lot of their politicians are bought off. I would say Mexican civilians feel powerless to that, at least the law-abiding ones. And just speaking on that socialist front, Mexico has a universal healthcare system. Mexico is basically a socialist democracy, okay? And one thing that comes with that is that healthcare thing. And back in 2016, public health doctors were protesting because of their working conditions in Mexico. You can find this on the YucatanTimes.com. It's very bad. The healthcare over there is not top tier. And just because everyone can get healthcare doesn't mean it's always going to be good. You can give everybody a shit sandwich and everyone will be equal, but it's not good for anybody. There's a big lack of resources in Mexico for their healthcare. I mean, there's a lack of resources there, period, because of government seized control. I mean, people are dying waiting in lines just to get healthcare. This isn't specific to Mexico. This can happen in Canada all the time. This is why a private free market healthcare system is best. It incentivizes insurance companies to help people, to get them cured. That way they can make money. But this way, if you monopolize it, if you socialize it to the point where government is sticking their nose in everything, it becomes corrupt. It's no coincidence that countries with the most government control lead to the most corruption. I think a lot of young people need to realize this when they call others fascists. When you want to control the way someone else is, control their thoughts, control their actions, that is the definition of a fascist. It's not just Hitler. It was Stalin, it was Mussolini. We gotta remember these things so history doesn't repeat itself. Anyway, I just wanted to bring to light some of the issues that socialism brings with it and why I think it's corrupted a lot of Latin American countries. And let's talk about some solutions. Write down in the comments what you think we can do to make these economic systems in Latin American countries better. But anyway, yeah, let me know what you think. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to our YouTube channel, dislike if you don't like it, but it's always good to listen to others' opinions. But anyway, guys, until next time, hasta luego.